Hello everyone, welcome back to another collective reading. In this specific reading, I will go in with a collective reading for absolutely everyone, and then we're gonna do pick a card style or pick a pile message for 3 groups. I just wanted to add this here that this reading is going to be for the sacred season, which goes from 12th of December until January 30th. And before we get into the reading itself, I will be sharing a few little things about myself, about my spiritual path and my spiritual business. There is also timestamps below for everything, so you do not have to listen to those things if you don't want to, but I would recommend you do just to show some appreciation. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the readings. If you're new here, my name is Alvia. I use he, him pronouns, and I create all kinds of content here about the magical, the multidimensional, spiritual nature of our existence. This is absolutely fascinating to me, and it is really stuff gets very deep over here. Okay, so it's about the esoteric and energetic philosophy, ascension. You know, working with my multidimensional aspect is what had me become really passionate about ascension and the elevating of the frequencies. And even before that, I knew I was a starseed for like many years, and I was already working with different tools like astrology and tarot and all of these crystals. Well, not all of them, because I didn't have all of them back then, but you get the gist. Okay, so I was already on some kind of a spiritual path, and then it started to refine from there. And if you really like what I'm doing over here in this reading, please do subscribe, and also I would recommend subscribing to my newsletter if you are curious about when I will maybe open up doing readings like this for individuals. So those would be most likely, you know, pre-recorded video files if I were to do that, and perhaps I will do some kind of coaching in the near future. You know, I actually had this kind of like a mentorship program that I was working on previously, so we'll see, maybe that will become a thing again. And for now, I will just direct everyone to my newsletter for all of the waitlist and such. So if you want to know what comes up next and what's happening in my business, again, thank you for allowing me to support myself. It's highly appreciated, and there will also be a link down below to the Starseed Origins course that I created for the World Divination Association, and also a link to my virtual tip jar. So if you wanna leave me some coffee money or tea money or whatever, that will be very helpful and greatly appreciated. Okay, without further ado, let's just get into our collective message for everyone who's watching this. I'm using the Star Guides reminders. This is also linked in the description below, this beautiful deck that I created. Okay, I have been a deck creator since I went to art school and graduated. Ho ho ho. Okay, so so let's just get started. This is for everyone, this message. Okay, so that one wanted to pop out. Alright. Let me also pull one from the top. Oh, okay. We've got a very fascinating set of messages here. So the first card we got for each and every one of us, of course including myself, is discernment. And the thing about this card is, as you can see, there is these 2 points, and there's like these rays of light going upwards in a triangle, so or like an arrow. And discernment is something that's very important on all parts of our path, really. So regardless of where you are at, whether you are beginning on the spiritual path or you are already well on your way, whether you are in the adept, intermediate state, beginner state, mastery stage, you're going to need to be discerning. And especially right now, there seems to be an extra need for us to be discerning this sacred season especially, which is starting on the 12th of December going into the end of January, so the 30th of January. And we also have Mars retrograde actually, that's going to begin here very shortly, I suppose officially on the 6th, but it's already stationing, it's already still standing perfectly still in the skies, and Mars is going to be retrograde until I think February 23rd or something like that. And another, of course, there's Mercury retrograde and plenty of other transits, but those are some of the most notable ones. And Mercury retrograde doesn't last that long. It's only going to last until I think the 3rd week of December. So before Christmas time, we will already be out of Mercury retrograde. And I think that's also what this card is speaking on to, okay? Because we might have these weird communications and weird impulses, so to speak, to, especially in our interactions with people. And of course, depending on where those planets, for example, fall in your own chart, that might give you more clues as to where you might need to be also more discerning where you put your life force, and more discerning what you give your energy to. And another thing also, what I'm feeling with the combination of this, because especially when the last one at the bottom of the deck came up, the practicing non-judgment, what this is saying to me really is that we can be discerning, right? We don't have to take everything at face value, but we also don't need to be judging it really hard. We don't need to be like unnecessarily mean or unnecessarily intense towards those things. And most likely we are not going to be, because the sort of intensity of the Mars retrograde is going to be it's not going to be that intense, because the Martian energy is going to go more inwards, if that makes sense, and it's going to slow down a lot. So what that's going to allow us to do is to take a step back before we make those judgments, so we can really lean into that energy here. And even if we do right, and I think the discernment piece is here also, because sometimes we need to just be able to be wrong as well, and we shouldn't be judgmental towards ourselves if that happens, like we do become judgmental. And truly, to become agape in action, which is the agape is divine love, and it's also can be love for humanity. Okay, so this is what Ascension is all about, love for humanity. Because if you don't have love for humanity and you're on the Ascension path, or if you're a light worker, you're trying to make a positive impact in this world, and if you just so happen to hate humans, which I can also empathize with, right? I've been there. Like, I used to hate humans at one point, and I felt very alienated from humanity, but I don't anymore. I decided that, okay, I'm going to love humanity with all of my heart, because even though as a starseed I have felt very alienated from humanity, I felt very outsider kind of vibe, I still have to honor that in this life I have been born into this human vessel, and there's a very good reason for that. And therefore, if I were to hate the rest of humanity, I would be hating a part of myself. And I think this is also one of those things that might sound very basic to some of you, so just again, take what resonates. This is the general message. You can stay for the pick a card, and maybe there will be something that's a bit more advanced there for you. But what I do find is that, like, the challenging part, I think, comes when we do have to face these things within ourselves. We have to face these, I guess, shadows, that's the best word I can describe, where we may be very judgmental towards something. Perhaps we are so discerning and so on point, sort of, or we are sort of noticing maybe these shadows in other people where they don't quite see something. They may not see perhaps an issue that they're having. And then we are the ones that are seeing, and then we're just like, well, don't you see that? But it's like we have to bring that love, that divine love, into the mix, into that situation, and not judge that person, right? And I know, like, I've also been in a state many times, and still, even still to this day sometimes, when I see people go through certain things or have certain lessons, my first reaction might be to judge them, because I cleared that lesson like many years ago, or even decades ago. Well, not many decades, but like over 10 years ago, say, for example. And so that is what I see is relevant maybe for a lot of you who are watching this. And yeah, the discernment, there's a lot of things that we can say about discernment. One more thing is, since this agape in action is coming in this, we want to also be discerning, of course, when we follow other teachers and other guides and whatnot, because sometimes they do not come with that love into this path, right? So sometimes they may actually come from a need to, control, or to be superior, or to be admired, what some people might call narcissistic, but again, that's a spectrum. So and each and every one of us has narcissistic traits. That's a scientific fact, okay? But some people have more than others. Some people have it in a very toxic way. So we want to just be very mindful and very discerning about that. If we don't feel the love and just the pure frequency in what each person is doing, even in other things, like, even, let's say, even if it isn't about spirituality, let's say you go to a doctor and it just feels cold. Like, the person feels cold, like they don't, it feels like they're not in it for the pure love, or for the pure love for the thing that they're doing, and they're just there because they wanted a good paying job, right? Let's not judge that. They might have their reasons, but we'll just be aware of that, and we'll know what kind of service we're gonna get from a person who does things from those kind of motivations, and who isn't maybe coming in with love. Hold on, just one more thing. Okay, they just keep wanting to give me that. Okay, so I think to wrap up this part of the reading is to remember to be discerning wherever you go with everything, and while you're at it, practice non-judgment. Okay, so it's really a key to recognize where we are judging things, because judging it's very exhausting, and it's sort of like creating these energetic entanglements. Well, not necessarily like all the time, but sometimes it can. Okay, so let's just be very mindful of that, and just like release that, and sort of question our judgments constantly. And finally, wherever you go, bring that agape into that action. Okay, so just be and become divine love, divine universal love, because you are it. Okay, and you just have to bring it out there into the world, and to be that essence, just radiate that. Okay. Okay, so now we can move into the next part of the reading. Alright everyone, so here are your piles. Pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. So I will just give you a little moment to choose your pile that you will want the reading for, and of course you can watch all of them if you feel called to do so. I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so pile number 1 with this opalite heart, and the cards that we were getting are these, and then there is also that one, these two, and those. First things first, as I look at this spread, we are having fire and water quite a bit in the tarot cards, as well as the oracle card that we have. We have technically 3 threes, because this card from the Sacred Creators Oracle is number 12. That adds up to 3. So technically we already have like 2 threes in other ways. And we have important reminders about... Oh yes. Okay, so here's what's coming through. The people that are watching this. So the people that are watching this reading, you may have been putting yourself into a bit of a victim mentality, and you are sort of being called out on that hey, guess what? You can actually create your best reality. You can actually create this really creative flow into your life. You are the creator of that. You can create great success in your life, and you can even create, there's a strong aspect of love. Even the Lover's card is here. So you can create the relationships that you want, and I do find that, especially for the sacred season, there might be a bit of a conflict within each and every one of you that are watching. You might be at this sort of a conflict, because there's also the battle card. So this is number 3. From the First Light Tarot, there's an oracle deck in that deck as well. So this is a card from that deck. So there might be a bit of a conflict within you, trying to, again, polarize, go into judgment and duality. But then there's also, there's this card, then there's this card. There's infinite love codes at the bottom of the deck. And then there's also, this one. So it's almost like there's this balance, and this, even the Mars card is here. So especially for the Mars retrograde, what might be coming up here is this sort of aggression, that maybe more so frustration about yourself, and it's then directed at others. But what really needs to happen is to realize that you are the source of your power, okay? So no one out there is going to come and get you out of your bed and to do your thing. You have to be the one who's going to direct your life force where it matters the most, okay? And there's especially this call to go where you are flowing, right? There's 2 cards describing the flow, okay? So go where the flow is taking you and find your specific flow. Do not try to make yourself feel like you need to do things in another person's way. And this is exactly like, I think this is also why this card came up, is because sometimes we try to look to others and sort of see, okay, is their way going to work for me? Or is this how I'm going to, you know, is this person's method going to save me? So we're going to look for saviors in other people's methods and their ways of doing things and those kind of things. But deep down we are in conflict within how we are utilizing our own wisdom, how we are utilizing our own resources, and how well we really are tuning into that flow that we have. But what I do see coming up here is that, there's just this great joy and success coming your way. Okay, so whatever these conflicts within you are, they're going to be turned into this magical, creative energy and vitality. And it's going to be really easy for you to take action. And I do see harmony coming into the family, and especially soul family. So this could be about, the soul family. Maybe this specific soul group that's watching this has maybe had a little bit of this. Like, maybe you have been fighting some, duality and polar energies, in your soul group. And it's time for the harmony now, right? It's time to bring that love into the game, okay? It's time to connect. It's time to rejoice. And it's time to enjoy this sacred season. And you know what the infinite love codes do, actually? You can now I will hold space for you to receive those codes from this card. So you can state to yourself, I choose to receive these codes, these infinite love codes in their most purest divine essence. And just feel how that shifts your reality. Because most likely what's going to happen, it's going to start to clear that duality. Most likely it's going to start to clear those internal conflicts there. And it will start to clear that resistance towards actually having fun, towards actually directing your life force into creating things that bring you joy, things that are successful, celebration. Okay, so there's a lot of celebration for you, and you're going to have a reason to celebrate, whether it's the holidays, whether it's something you have done. Okay, but remember that the season is going to continue until the end of January, and then there's Imolc on the 1st of February, and then of course Mars retrograde is going to go on after that. So you're going to find yourself with a lot more vitality, and with a lot. What is coming through is, if you are still dealing with those inner conflicts and aggression, and even with others, because this could be also happening in family dynamics or people you know. So if you're having those kind of situations, just remember your own power in those situations, because again, like, we don't want to be giving other people that much power over our sort of our mental state. And obviously, like, this may not apply to you if you're dealing with something really abusive, but even then, you can choose how to react, and you can still be in your power in those situations. And I've also been in those kind of situations. It can be really frustrating. But even in that situation, we want to remember that, we can defend ourselves without stepping or going as low as those people are. Okay, so if they're being like really nasty towards us, we don't have to play their game. we can instead, save ourselves from that situation. We create our time. And this is the lesson, right? It's the lesson of what do we choose to use our time on? Where are we spending our time? What are we giving our energy to? Because on the other side of it, there's this, celebration. There's this good times that can happen, and that ease and flow into these new projects, into these new things, right? Because most likely we are going to be getting into something that's really easy for us to flow into. And a lot of I'm seeing a lot of old sort of baggage and old energies, especially like things that maybe have been inherited, family line stuff, even in soul families and whatnot. Those sort of battles are going to start to diminish, and I do find that the sort of egoic part, we may be kind of having that battle within ourselves or even with others where they may be reacting from the ego, and then we kind of have to be the bigger person sort of and come from the higher level perspective and see things from the eyes of divine or the eyes of our higher self or the oversoul or whatever, whichever suits you. But then it's going to be like, I do see a whole lot more ease here coming, and essentially, even if we might have some of us might have a challenging holiday season, after that there's going to be a great deal of ease. So I do find that perhaps there is going to be like those challenging issues are going to be solved at much more ease. But I do find that maybe we might need to put a little bit more effort in that and be really conscious and be really mindful as to how we go about solving those issues. Okay, so I hope this helps you. And as I said, all of the links are down in the description below. And I will see you next time. Pile number 2 with this rhyolite heart. That card again. Like, this is not the first reading that it came up in. Well, not. This is a different reading, but I remember a few months ago I did another reading in which the reality collapse reading came up. So that's interesting. So what we got going on here, the energy of flow is coming again for us. And another very interesting energy here is culture, travel, exchange, support. Alright, support is coming through as well. But there's also an interesting frequency of lack, and again the reality collapse. Okay, so what's really coming through here is that something new is being birthed through a void, essentially. So you might be already familiar with the concept of the void. And here it means, what it means, it's either something is being torn apart or something is already in a state of sort of lack and a need, basically. So some of you may be struggling quite a lot, and the transformation that's going to come about through this sacred season is going to bring something into that which you have been missing. Whether that is abundance, whether that is love, or whether that is, travel or experiences, or even energy. Well, here we have energy, 9, and flow. Okay, and interestingly enough, this number 9, and we're moving into numerologically into a 9 year. So that's an interesting aspect of this for sure when I think about it. And on the other hand, in this specific read, we have sort of like air, fire, earth, right? In this deck, the Fool is fire, and it's Sagittarius. So it has a slightly different meaning than the traditional Fool card. But it's still showing us new beginnings, new journeys, new adventures, and again the aspect of culture and philosophy and travel. So, and I mean, the Fool is beginning their journey, whatever it is. So we are ending a cycle and then moving into the next one. And in the next cycle, you're going to have a lot more help. Like everyone who's watching this, you're going to have a lot more help. And you're going to have this expansion and this constant evolution. And even though we might think of this as linear, like from 5 to 6, that's linear, or like from 9 to 10, that's linear, and from 1 to 2, because then technically from like 10 becomes 1, okay, whatever. We might think of that as linear, but there's also this non-linear aspect, first of all, happening in the spiritual realms in different dimensions, but it's also happening in each choice point, okay? This card, the Decide, from the Inner Rebirth Oracle, is just like, and then keep on working on it, okay? So this is asking you to choose, to make choices, be mindful of what you say yes to, because each thing that we are saying yes to can either support us in our paradigm, in whatever reality we are creating. And so once this old reality collapses, or if we are even seeking to collapse a certain reality, we have to then be willing to say yes to things that are creating the new one. And we cannot keep on reinforcing the old reality by saying yes to things. Say, for example, Venus, beauty, love, and relationships. You might be dealing with these choices in your relationships during the sacred season. And so say there's somebody who's really, let's say, the most ideal situation, you will get someone who's just A+, someone who's like a really good person you wanna get romantic with or sexual with or whatever. Like, that's like, you can do whatever you want. Over here, we don't judge people based on what kind of relationship they choose to have. I mean, I'm gay, I'm queer, so it's like, you can do whatever you want. But my point is, okay, you might get someone who's like really good for you, and you want to say yes to that. You want to flow into that. You want to give your energy to that which supports your new reality. And I remember in the first reading that this card came up, I spoke of how sometimes creating, when you have experienced a lot of trauma, you might be creating your reality based on those traumas. And then we have to make those decisions that are healing to us, make those decisions, right? Because once we start to heal, then we start to make things, make these decisions from an entirely different place, right? We cannot be making traumatized decisions anymore at that point. So maybe perhaps previously you may have said yes to a potential lover or lovers where they would have been mean to you or made some like weird backhanded compliments or something like that, or perhaps somebody who isn't quite giving you the time and the attention and focus that you would desire. And or perhaps it's a situation where maybe you are asexual and you don't desire sex as much as you desire romance or friendship or something else. This could also be a platonic thing. Maybe you find yourself in a situation where the friendship needs are not just met, they're just not met, and what kind of ends up happening is that one or either both, even both of the people in that connection can end up feeling like they're missing something, okay? So, going into the sacred season, you're probably going to see yourself making better decisions in regards to this stuff. So you're going to start to say no, where you actually need to be saying no. You are going to start to say yes, where you can actually start to create from this new, expansive, and evolving place. Okay, so what this is showing, this is an interesting card. These keywords here are aid, protection, or retreat, and card is okay. So when we want to retreat, we have to make sure, because like for some of you there could also be a chance of find yourself in a beautiful location. Maybe you're traveling and retreating to a beautiful place. Maybe you're going on retreats, perhaps even abroad. And what might be like, we want to make sure that we are not retreating out of cowardice or wanting to run away or fight or flight, unless of course that's absolutely necessary. but we want to assume the best for the sacred season for you, okay? So we want to know that maybe comes from the right place here then. Perhaps to be a little bit more quiet, perhaps to, again, listen to energy and to listen to where that assistance and that support is coming from. There's quite a few. This card, yeah, those are the ones that speak about support and aid. Okay, but there's just two different parts of the same coin. So one of them is social, maybe you're making different connections, and then the other one is Earth. So the planets are Earth. So maybe in that case it's financial. Maybe you're getting financial support for some kind of a retreat or some kind of a travel, some kind of a trip that you're going to take. And most likely there's just going to be this beautiful energy there. There's going to be love. And there's going to be, even relationships could be made. Maybe some of you are going to one of those retreats where, you're connecting with people, where it's like a community thing. And you're going to have to allow yourself to have that. Maybe some of you have gone without a spiritual community your entire lives. And you're just going to have to be okay with saying yes to that. And also protect your I'm getting here this idea of protecting your plans, okay? So if there are those kind of people in your life that are really not good for you, just make sure you protect yourself and you maintain a sort of privacy. But again, make sure that you are also available to receive the help, okay? So that's one thing that's coming through, because sometimes we can kind of just sort of hide. Like, you might have this desire to hide because you need that help. And it might feel like really embarrassing and awful. But we're going to have to be vulnerable, because this card also, the 5 of planets or the 5 of coins, 5 pentacles, speaks about vulnerability as well. So we're going to have to be able to be vulnerable and open and transparent with people. So we shouldn't be, shying away if we want to get that support and if we want those new experiences. And again, remember what I said in the beginning of this very reading of the entire video. Discernment, okay? So if this applies to you, it does. If not, then it doesn't, okay? So, what this card is also saying is that the yes, okay, what are we like really excited about? So let's follow that. Let's follow those things that just bring us so much joy. That we're like, hell yeah. It's like, it's not a hell yeah. It's hell no. If you have heard that, but I have heard it, so I'm just like, yeah, that sounds appropriate for this reading. And again, you are the one making these decisions. So whatever you decide, remember that, you know, your mission is still always, your mission is still not linear. It's always ever expanding and endlessly evolving. So with each decision, you are allowing yourself to grow more in this new reality, where you get to be supported, where you get to have what perhaps you haven't had in a long time, or even ever. You get to have new experiences, and you get to have a whole lot more fulfillment and energy. So just keep on working at it. After every decision you make, just keep on working on it. Keep on qualifying and holding the frequency and stabilizing it in your field. And that way, your reality collapse will turn into this brand new reality. Okay? Thank you so much for listening. Again, links to everything, all of these decks that I used are in the description below. And subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this. Hello, those of you who picked this clear quartz heart. Ooh. Alright. Oh, that was some extra card. Oh my goodness. Not sure which one was actually meant to come out. Okay, you know what? I will make an exception and I'm gonna have that one here as well. Thinking that was just supposed to be there. Alright, so had to charge my camera a little bit, and I already had a little glance at these cards, okay, because I was curious. And so what is really standing out to me here is, what's really standing out to me about this reading is that there's a part of you, you know, during this sacred season, you're going to realize that you might have rejected a part of yourself, like a very essential part of yourself. And the reason where this is coming from is mostly these two, okay? These are Uranus, which represent in this deck passion, indulgence, and sexuality. And then there's the devil, which can also be a symbol of sexuality, okay? It can also be a symbol of kink, for example, like sexual kinks. And Uranus especially is very queer, okay? It's very, what is considered in a lot of cultures as unconventional. Personally, as someone who is very queer, I do not believe that it's unconventional at all. I just believe it's a part of our natural essence as humans to be a little bit fruity. So, so you know, the thing about when these two cards came together for this reading, I just looked at it and was like, yeah, there's for certain some people in my audience who haven't yet explored either their kink side, or their, maybe they are like bi-curious, or maybe your gender identity is a question mark at this point. And then there's also a very divine aspect here, okay? So timelines. There are certain timelines that you haven't yet explored, and you're going to get a chance to explore those here in this coming, you know, sacred season, so in this next 7 weeks or so. And it gets even more interesting when we have, well, first of all, we have the death card here. This is represented by the Calum constellation, so it's this little tool here. It's a tool of creation, refinement, and configuration. Okay, so basically we are sculpting something, we are creating something. And when we are talking about the death card, how that symbolizes and blends together is that it's sort of this, we're removing pieces of the sculpture in order to reveal the essence, the piece. Which then, of course, ties quite well into this. The ascension starts once we release the baggage. So you are releasing parts of yourself, social conditionings that have nothing to do with you, okay? And what's very interesting here, this could maybe perhaps start as a reason, start in a conversation or an idea or just a revelation of truth. When the Ace of Stars or the Ace of Swords comes up, we tend to face truths, we tend to get these ideas or these thoughts that are almost like lightnings that come to us, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is what is going on. And another reason why I'm saying that is because there's two cards that represent mirrors. Okay, so we have 11 healing, which of course becomes 2, and then we have the Sacred Mirrors card. And this one especially is about service to others, okay? So then that brings to our consciousness. Where are we seeing reflections of either the part of us that we are trying to release or this new identity, well, maybe not so new, but repressed identity, this identity of who we are, regardless of how much, we are a spiritual person, how much we are a certain kind of a spiritual person, we have to be willing to let go of all of the conditioning. And I think in our relationships, we are going to see even more of that. Okay, people are going to reflect things to us that we are working on. And then we're kind of having these aha moments and realizing that, oh, okay, so I do need to actually heal this. I have to clear this thing here, and I have to think what is in the service of all involved. And there is also a beautiful, as you start to heal through these rejected parts of yourself, you're going to be able to help others on their paths as you do that, which is beautiful. And then we also have divine will. Then we have Vela and guidance, which is represented by the Hanged Man in this deck. And what comes with these two cards is that this is probably something that your guides have been trying to get through to you. Or maybe even other people. Maybe other people have been saying, oh, well, aren't you sure? Well, you kind of seem like you could be. And it's sort of like, you're just like, you start to make those sounds with your mouth, and it's like, maybe, but you just don't take the step until now. Sacred season, perfect time. Okay. And what's coming through here, okay? Divine will. Faith and guidance. Okay, so the Vela is a ship, and it is going to places. It is going to, in this case, it's going to a higher state of being. But that higher state of being is not able to happen if there's like a lot of this baggage going on, and like if you're being like tied up, unless that's the thing you want to explore, yeah, if that's the thing you want to explore, go ahead. That's something that's definitely encouraged by this reading. And there's a chance to explore these new timelines. These new timelines of, what's also coming through here is, I rarely talk about twin flames because there is really just, I feel like it's a bit toxic sometimes. But what we might speak about here, you know, I heard someone say like divine counterpart, and I don't really know if I agree with that word either, like if that's the word that we would talk about. But it's someone who reflects to you, first of all, your entire soul, where it feels like your soul is equally as bright as theirs. You're very similar. It's almost like soul family, but it's like you feel like you are twins, basically, that are in different bodies with the same soul. That's basically how we would describe a twin flame, but then there's a lot of conditioning that comes with that. And maybe that's also part of this, you know, this devil thing. Maybe you already are in a relationship like that, but you've been conditioned with this thought that it has to be toxic in order to be twin flame. Or you might be in a toxic situation that isn't a twin flame, but you're convinced that it is because you've heard this toxic thing and this is your wake-up call. Like, get out. Get out, you do not need to be there. And maybe that's actually what needs to go away, what needs to be released. And then you ask yourself, what if it's not a setback, but rather a reset, right? You're being set up for a new reality, something that's actually going to help you become that healer who is going to help others, and it's going to help you deliver a message to others about what it really means to be in a divine union. And this is also for those who maybe are already in a divine union or that are about to enter one. And again, it's not sort of defined by your gender or your gender identity. Maybe this is exactly very unlike what you have seen in the spiritual community. Maybe you're so used to seeing like straight people do it, or maybe it's like a butch and a femme lesbians being like the twin flame, so the other one is like feminine and the other one is masculine. But what if it's something totally different? What if it's completely, you know, completely gay? Or it's like you have two asexuals in a divine union, or you have, right, because here, even though we are speaking about sexuality, it could also be asexuality, so like the lack of it, because that's also seen as very anti-mainstream, so to speak. So it could be any of that, and I feel like you are also being called to really discern the guidance that you maybe have been given by certain people for when it comes to this. So maybe there hasn't been that much of a good advice there, and it hasn't been in the service of others, so the shadow side is showing up with the devil. And it could also show up the shadow sides, the shadow mirrors, if that makes sense. The mirrors that we so do not want to see, but they have to be visible, and we have to be willing to receive the truth of that situation. And I do see great healing and just great, the ascension, it's coming for you for sure. And it's not just coming for you, you are creating it, because you are releasing the baggage over this sacred season. And another message here, you're going to have to give yourself time to just hang back, just like the hangman does, and just let yourself be taken by the stream. Let your ship be guided by the divine will on the timeline, this very timeline that you are exploring here. and make sure you choose the highest timeline, okay? So it's important to choose the highest timeline because that then allows for the best outcomes for you. Now, for when it comes to these two though, the divine will and timelines, there's often when, sometimes, not always, but sometimes when we start to follow the divine will, there could be some things that are better for us, some things that are going to support our ascension better versus the things that our ego wants. And our ego might have a tunnel vision, might kind of cling on to things, especially things that are very harmful. Again, we're going back to the devil card. It's like that could be sort of also a symbol of our ego. But then, once we surrender and we receive the guidance from the divine, once we understand how the divine will is playing out in our reality, helping us co-create our highest timeline, we're going to be allowing ourselves to again heal and to become more whole, to refine ourselves, and to create a new version of ourselves that is going to last the test of time, that is going to be able to evolve, that is going to be able to serve others. But it seems that for some of you there might be a bit of like I wouldn't say destruction, but a sort of crumbling down of the old first. So there could be, you could have some belief systems perhaps that are crumbling down, and you're being shown new ones that are maybe not as conventional, that are maybe shaking you up a little bit even. And this could have something to do with that identity. This could have something to do with that relationship, that sexual thing, whatever it is, or that new idea, that new truth, what your connections are showing you. But it's important to remember that as these things crumble down, ask yourself, what if it's not a setback, but rather a reset? Because then, like I said, you're going to start to build a more authentic version of yourselves on this clean slate. And that is the reading for you. Thank you for listening. And if you would like to buy one of these decks, the links are below. If you would like to know when I offer readings and coaching and things like that, you can sign up to my newsletter, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Thank you very much. And let me know in the comments how you found all of these readings, or the one you watched. So thank you so very much, and I will see you soon.